This, okay.
Yeah, I saw the message went out about the comments to CISA.
Oh, yeah. And I
Oh,
sent those directly to Alan too, along with the email address on the government website as well.
yeah, I said, did we miss some deadline or something? I saw something about that.
It looks like it, but the CISA said website said through the 18th, but go to actually submit it and it said it was closed. So, because I had the 18th on my calendar as in
Yeah, I
terms
remember we looked
of
it up. I looked it up when we were on the phone. Yeah, that's
yeah. It said through the 18th, but it actually closed before then. I just don't know when. So there's a discrepancy on government websites in terms of what the actual deadline was.
shocking.
Exactly. So I don't know if it was Sunday. I don't know if it was Friday. I don't know. I don't know. So I
All right.
sent it manually. I submitted it manually. And
Yeah, I mean,
once I published it.
if Alan reads it, then it's probably fine. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But let me share because I've made it through the XSD for the most part, and I came across a couple things in the JSON that I've made a few modifications on. Let's see. So, okay, so just description update, another description update, descriptions,
yep.
description, 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 description. Oh, maybe it wasn't in here. Oh, wait, let's see. So what did this one say? Okay, this
Oh,
originally said people.
but it could easily be contributors that aren't people. I mean,
Exactly. So I changed it to individuals.
yeah.
Um,
It
so
could be
it
more,
wa-
like, does that mean like a team or something that makes comments or an organization?
well, this is about the target. So what are you actually attesting to?
Yeah.
So in a lot of cases, it's going to be the organizations or components or services. We use the term individual or contact throughout the specification. So people was a new term, and I didn't want to introduce a new term for kind of the same thing.
I see.
Do you see any issue with changing this to individuals?
Well, the only thing I would say is, I think it's a little weird to list an individual person in something like this, and they might have privacy concerns around that. When I think of what describes the target of an attestation, I feel like it's really like the team that built it. And I meant when I suggested people originally, I was thinking more like people, process, technology, like not the individuals, but more like just who's involved from this company? Is it the R&D team or is it the retail engineering services team or whatever?
So this
That's what I
is
meant.
Yeah, so this is under targets,
Yeah,
which is a list of targets which claims are made against. So a claim, in this case, a claim made against an individual.
that seems weird to me though. Like,
Does seem weird, but is there a case where that could be useful?
I mean, for me, it's like the claim is made against the team that built it.
Right.
And if the team has one person on it, then it's still the team. I almost don't feel right making claims against individuals. Like Steve did it.
Well, it's not about again, this is about yeah, my security hat tells me to take it out. But on the other side, if you have requirements for a given role in the organization, and as an individual contributor, you have to meet those requirements, and you are attesting to doing so or not doing so, it might actually be useful.
I can understand claims against a role. Okay, so the requirement is you must have appointed a training director or a audit head of audit or something. I don't know. It's some role that you have to have. I could see that. But even then, individuals doesn't sound right. I'd almost say it should be like, you know, roles and teams. The most
Yeah,
obvious use case to me is against the team. Like
right.
generally, that's the kind of requirement I would expect. A
Yeah.
fringe case is like, hey, what about that role? Um, and even then, you could argue that that's like a team kind of requirement.
The easy button is to, I mean, again, this is not going to help us with SSDF, PCI, BSIM, or any of the above, right? The easy thing to do is just to do that. Um,
hmm.
that way we are limiting ourselves to the organization or to the software or services that they provide.
Yeah, and you could argue it all fits under organization, right? Like
Right.
it's the organization has to have a CISO or yeah, something, or the organization. Hmm. Yeah, if you describe the organization and say who's involved, but this is just a list of organizations, right? It doesn't really
No,
describe.
this is the what you're actually making claims against.
No, I understand that, but your opportunity to specify the organizations is just a list of references, right? Like items.
Right. Right. Well, it's going to be
Oh,
an
and
array
then
of
that's defined somewhere else in here, right?
no, it's going to be an array of organizations. So
Yeah.
zero or more organizations that you're attesting to. So think NIST SSDF, right? If you wanted to attest to your entire organization, well, your organization would be listed here. Or if
Well,
you just
when we look at
attest,
the what's in the definition of an organization, like we could fix it there because we could put a role and roles and teams and stuff in there.
yeah, teams are not in there right now. It's just the name, the URL, and then um the contacts for the organization.
Yeah, this is really about the whole company, right? Like typically you'd list, contrast security here or something.
Right. Yeah, we don't have the concept of like a team or business unit in the spec.
Yeah, but that's what the claims are really that should be made against, right? Because it's like most of the requirements are on the team, not the whole company.
Well, again, you don't have to attest to the whole company. If you wanted to attest just to the software or hardware that you're producing, then that's actually what you're attesting to. You're not necessarily attesting to the team that's doing it.
Well, if there's a claim in there that, if there's a requirement that applies to the team,
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
do we
we don't have
describe
that
that? But
today.
we can't capture it because there's no way to describe the team that it applies to.
Right.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, your favorite example is like we trained all the developers, right?
Yep.
Well, how do you say which developers it applies to?
Well, you would say that your organization, it'd be a claim against the organization, and you would specify that you're 80% conformant, for example. And then in your mitigation strategies, you would provide evidence and counter evidence that talk about the teams, for example, the business units that maybe you're not targeting. But there's not a separate object called teams.
Yeah, I don't know. You could say you're 80% compliant, but that could be that the 20% that have received no training built the product that is involved here.
Right. Yeah, there's no
Here's what I want-
association to a team to the components or services that they're providing or building.
When I think about this section, like the target of evaluation, I'm thinking about the product that's built, and I think we've covered that. It's whatever components are built as part of this system. But then there's the factory that built it. And when I think of a software factory, I think of the people, the processes, and the technology that was used to build the product. And what I'm trying to describe here is the software, like give us the capability of describing the software factory that built this code. Because it matters. Like, I'm a big fan of direct evidence primarily. Like I don't care how you built, I don't care what factory built it. I want the proof to be in the pudding. But there's a lot of requirements out there that apply to the software factory. In fact, most of the PCI and SSF, and they're not requirements on the product, they're requirements on the factory. And so I want to have a decent language for talking about like what's inside that bubble. Because there's a lot of different kinds of software factories. I'd love to be able to capture some of that here.
Well, you could, I mean, your software factory, if you're talking about like a CI/CD pipeline, for example, that could be just a series of components. We already capture that today in the MBOM support.
Yeah, it's a little misleading because it's not a component of the product. It's a
Right,
component of the factory that built the product,
right.
but you could kind of wedge it in there.
Yeah, we
Um,
actually have it broken down in under formulation. We actually have a dedicated space for components and services underneath formulation so that you actually know that these things were used in the creation or testing or whatever process and are not captured as part of the inventory.
yeah,
So that's in there today.
sorry, what's in there today?
That's in there today. So if you wanted to capture the software factory in every discrete component used in that factory, that's possible. And then you can simply reference that factory here if you wanted to. So you could do that today.
What about the people and processes involved in as part of that factory? Like they're just as important as the technology.
Yeah. Well, again, you could be attesting to the factory in here, right? Attesting to people. Well, that's why the individuals were here.
Right.
Um, so um, it seems kind of odd to me, but um,
I mean, if I was doing this from scratch, I would probably say there's like the big chunks here, are the organization, the factory, and then the thing that gets produced by the factory. Or
yep,
that it's, and then inside the factory, there's stuff like pipelines, there's people and processes, and you describe each of those. It might be a little, I might be overthinking this a little bit. I just spent a lot of time, in this
yeah.
part of the
Well,
world.
again, the workflow, the processes are part of the formulation, so that's easy. We call them workflows. And then we have
Does that cover like
tasks.
training and
What's
policy?
that?
Does that cover things like training and policy and
No, no, no. It's
it's
think
all
like
technical processes, right?
yeah, it's like Jenkins pipeline type stuff.
Yeah,
But
that's
you can put other things in there, like set your oven to 350 degrees type of thing. Um,
Can you put train your developers there?
You theoretically could.
Hmm. I don't think
They're
people would do that. Doesn't sound like formulation to me.
yeah, we couldn't find any standard to represent policy for procedures. So, and we didn't want to invent one.
Yeah.
So, but that seems to be a gap. There's a lot of industry specific ones, but I haven't found a general purpose one
Hmm.
unless it's sitting behind an ISO paywall somewhere, which very well could be.
It is so crazy that those standards are behind a paywall and they're not cheap.
No, exactly.
That's amazing.
I don't understand it. It's yeah. Well, whatever the business model is, I
Hmm.
don't think it's going to serve them long term anymore, but we'll see.
Been working.
Um, that's why I was really happy to kind of align with ECMA. I think it works really, really well with the OWASP model and having all the standards open and royalty free and everything else. So
That's possibly the biggest change, biggest positive change to OWASP, since like the early days when I got rid of the wiki, we got rid of the XML content management system and put us on Wikipedia.
right.
Um,
Yeah. That was a long time ago, Jeff.
Jesus, yeah.
So
Uh,
should we keep people in here? I changed it to individuals just because it's a term we've used previously, but
yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's more like I think you'll see more requirements about teams,
yeah,
the team associated with building this product, and not. I can't remember ever seeing a security requirement lodged against an individual.
yeah,
Your point about roles is interesting, and I can't imagine, you must have a CISO or something, but they're that's pretty rare. But
yeah.
like team requirements are pretty common.
To make an attestation against a team.
Yeah. I'd have to go back through like the PCI, but there's requirements in there about the SSLC, and a lot of them are sort of people things like you must do well, actually that's not really I was going to say you must do threat modeling, and then I realized like actually that's a process requirement. It's also not here. But maybe it's okay. Maybe we just take this out and then you're not we just you just deal with it in the like the rationale for
Right,
the
exactly.
attestation itself, and you just describe it there. Like the requirement is you must do threat modeling. Well, yeah, we've got the threat modeling team, and Joe leads it or whatever. Like put it right in there.
Right. Okay.
So I'm
Uh,
okay. Yeah.
let's see.
What's an affirmation?
Oh, that was where the signatures and stuff were.
Oh yeah.
So let me take individuals out of here then as well. So, okay. Um, I think that was all for that. And then I was playing around with I've got what do you call it? The test files for both of these kind of under development as well, because now that I've got the schemas kind of built up, I'm working on the test files for both. Um, so I came to this, and this was so if I have like evidence or counter evidence,
Yeah.
what I'm thinking here is changing this from an object to an array. So like if you wanted to supply like multiple screenshots, for example,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like,
Otherwise, you got to create one of these for each one.
right, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Okay, so change this to an array. You're good with that?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. That works for me. Okay, so I'll update the schema for that. That's good. Um, and the last thing. Uh
Why does
uh
it have, why does it have contents and then is it just a, a list of attachments? Like, why isn't it just like an array of data? Is it,
because the data can be either like external or inline. Inline is this is the way you would specify inline attachments.
so you just put it right there?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
No, the other one was the other one, and I almost forgot. Let's see. That's under the ML. That's not the right one. Yeah, this is it. So a couple places in here, we've got mitigation strategy, but
Hmm.
it's an array. Any objection to me calling this mitigation strategies?
No,
Okay,
because it's a list. Like
right.
that's just plural.
Yep. Okay. I
Yep.
just wanted to get clarification.
No, that's good.
And I think those are the only things that I kind of came across that were questions. Mitigation strategies. And I need to do the same thing with the XSD.
Because and it's because there's reasoning here, right? Like you should like if you have multiple mitigation strategies in the reasoning, you still have to explain how it adds up to good enough.
Right. Exactly. Um, okay, so I need to, oh, right, okay. This is the reason why it came up because in Cyclone we've got usually we will have like the plural if there's a group, and then we'll have the singular underneath it, just kind of as a design thing.
Yeah,
But I came to the XML and I'm like, oh, well, this is a singular, so I'm gonna have to have like multiple things um here,
yeah,
and everything's just gonna be like a bunch of mitigation strategy without like a parent.
right.
So it just would look odd. Okay, so I'm gonna put a big to do here.
You're going to create a mitigation strategies element.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that description? It says the list of bomb ref to the evidence provided. What's the rest of that say? Hmm. Seems like evidence is the wrong thing here. Mitigation strategy is about like new controls that you've added
Right,
to.
but we were capturing the uh we're storing the mitigation strategies as evidence.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can reword it, but in the spec, we're storing it where the evidence goes.
Hmm.
Let's see. So that's that to do. Thought I had another one in here somewhere too. Yeah, here we go, right here. Okay, so I'll make a parent for that. Okay.
Gotcha.
And think that was all. So I'll be able to wrap the XSD up tonight. And I'll get that posted. I think that was the only outstanding questions that I had um on the spec. The proto buff will be easy, so I should be able to get that done this week as well before the holiday break. Um and yeah.
Great.
So yeah,
Okay.
I think this is in pretty good shape. I think this is in pretty good shape. Where's my Zoom? Was there anything that we wanted to do other than look at this today? I think you submitted a pull request, if I remember right, for the guides.
I thought we did that last week. I thought you accepted it, but I could be wrong. I don't think I
Oh, I
did
thought you did
another.
another one, but maybe not. Maybe that was somebody else.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Oh, my nose is killing me. I've got a cold. It just won't go away.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, daughter brought home something a couple weeks ago and she was sick and then she got my wife and I sick, so we've been sick like last week and we still got the sinus issues and I don't know. I
Right.
just want
She's probably 2 days and she's fine, right? And
my wife usually, but it's not this time around.
oh man.
Usually I'm the one that's like, on my deathbed because I have a cold.
Uh I
Anyway,
haven't had well, I'm not even gonna say it.
nope,
I'm not gonna step in front of that.
nope. All
I
right,
gotta
Jeff.
get my booster.
Yeah, indeed. All right.
Hey, congrats. It's a great release. Uh
Oh, the website?
yeah, I think it's all like, yeah, the comments to CISA, and like I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like it's this one's well in hand for releasing in when is it, like January or something?
Uh we are aiming for we're aiming for the end of February for
Okay.
to have basically everything done. Um and then we're aiming for March for an OWASP release of 1.6. But if we get everything done by the end of February, then we should be on track for a late June, early July release of ECMA Cyclone 1.6.
Okay.
So if we don't get everything done by the end of February, then it'll have to be a December ECMA release of 1.6.
Mhm.
Not the worst case, but I'd like to get it sooner rather than later. There is a lot of work involved, however, not necessarily just from the specification perspective, but from so for us, we've always generated the standard along with the implementations of that standard in
Yeah.
JSON schema or XML schema. And obviously, international standards organizations don't work that way. The output is human readable. So we're having to change our build process. We're going to be using JSON schema as the source of truth,
Yeah.
but we're changing our build process to basically generate Markdown
Yeah.
instead of generating the documentation thing you see on our website. And then that Markdown will be used to generate the PDF necessary for an ECMA release. So it's a bunch of other things that we're having to go through to
Yeah.
strip away all the implementation details. And then we're going to be taking a bunch of stuff from the SBOM guides and a few other things and kind of um, putting it in there as well. So it's going to be a lot of work in addition to just the specification stuff that we're working on.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get it all done by the end of February. I've got I know Jan and Patrick, they're going to be going full force come January. So, fingers crossed, we'll see.
Cool.
Yep. But yeah. Anything else, Jeff?
No.
Cool.
Nope.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let me stop the recording here.